Hello, guys, it's me, George, and today I wanted to talk about something regarding can a person be made a witch or are you born a witch? And this is a question that came up on a group on Facebook that I'm part of, Traditional Witchcraft, Folk Magic, Cunning Folk. For those of you that haven't, definitely check them out, they're incredible. And I think that anybody that practices amongst the line and currents of witchcraft that I do would greatly benefit from it. It's a fantastic page, and there is always some really interesting conversations going on and information and some incredible resources. So yeah, definitely check them out. So one of the questions that posed up in this group was, can someone be made a witch or are you born a witch? And admittedly, this is something that I've been thinking about for a couple of days, right? First and foremost, off the cuff, I want to make this delineation pretty clear because I feel that this, unfortunately, is a habit that we as a society, but also as a community, have got lumped into, and I think just it's quite disrespectful to other magical traditions. But not only that, I think that it's quite disrespectful to witchcraft itself, and I also think it's quite ignorant. You know, we need to stop calling any magical tradition witchcraft. That's witchcraft. No, it's not. I'm here to break that to you. You know, you can't just storm through the door, point at Dutch Pennsylvania and powwow and be like, that is witchcraft, because they would be mortified. They would be horrified to know that. Similar to if we went back to the early modern period, looked at a cunning man and went, you're practicing witchcraft. They would not have been happy with that. And so we need to be mindful that witchcraft is a very particular thing. And it is very different from other magical traditions. Actually, it's completely different from other magical traditions. You know, we have all these different and vast richness of magical culture and heritage amongst humans. And, you know, originating from all different foundations and different areas. And witchcraft is very different. You know, for me, it feels like all these magical traditions go like that, whereas witchcraft just goes like that. It's a road of its own. It's a crooked path. It is its own path, and it will never be anything else but its own path. So I definitely feel that delineation has to be made. And secondly, I want to say that I feel that magic is, for me, I believe that magic is an innate God-given right to every human being. And I believe that. I believe that magic is a God-given right that every human being can have access to if they so desire. And I 120% believe that. And I think that is something that we often forget, that magic is this pulsating energy of life force that permeates through everything that every human being has access to if they so desire. And I definitely think that anyone can practice magic, 100%. I also think that anyone can practice witchcraft, but I don't think everyone can be a witch. And here's why. This is a metaphor. And I hope this doesn't come across as mean girls, you can't sit with us, because that is not my intentions at all. It's the only way that I, as a person with my experience of also being an artist, a trained dancer, not anymore, but it's the only way that I can see it as a metaphor. When we look at someone in the arts, we look at a singer, we look at a dancer, we look at an artist, we look at these people, and we know that singing, the gift of song, is a God-given right to every human being. We know that dancing, the gift of movement, is a God-given right to every human being, not all. And again, singing, not all as well. But for the most part, singing can be and dancing can be accessed by a large majority of the human race. Art, the idea of expression, of creativity, is something that is a God-given right to every human being that we can access and we can tap into. But not everyone can be a professional singer. Not everyone can be a professional dancer, and not everyone can be a professional artist. When we think of this, a lot of the times we'll hear this thing where people say, oh, I couldn't be a professional dancer, I don't have the talent, or I don't have the talent to be an artist, or I don't have the talent to be a singer. Or we'll say, oh, she's very talented, he's very talented. And really, what we mean is that there is something that lies deep within that person's fibre, their essence, their soul, their entirety, that is connected to that strand, that is connected to that essence of dance, of singing, of music, of art, that is connected to that not everybody has. And that, for me, is how I view witchcraft and how I view someone who is a witch. Okay? The police are going in the background, so I'm just going to roll with this, okay? It's going to get louder because Scotland, the ambulances and the police sirens are obnoxious. Anyway, I'm rolling with this. It was Birdsong before and now it's jailbait. My point is, I think that not everyone can be those things, but that doesn't mean that that makes those people special or innately special. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that some people carry within them that lineage to that current, to that life force that connects them to that they work as a conduit for that life force, for that lineage, for that essence. And I think that works the same with witchcraft. If we look historically and we look throughout terms of lore and stories, and we look at the concept and the ideology of the witch isn't a person that has ever conformed. The witch isn't a person that has ever, has ever really taken orders or really fitted in or actually even wanted to. The witch is someone that's gone against the grain. The witch is someone that was like, fuck the system. The witch was that crazy old lady that lived at the edge of the woods that didn't really hang out with anyone, and no one really wanted to hang out with her because she didn't belong. She was different. She was completely and utterly different. And a lot of witches will feel this. We will feel this when we are out within society. We'll feel this when we are out within the community, that we feel very different and almost alienated. It can be quite painful. Actually, it can be quite a painful experience. And so this is one of the things I feel, that when I see people that are witches, I know they're witches because of how they are, because of how they act, because of there's a wildness in their eyes, there's a feralness behind their eyes. They are different from other people, and not in a good way and not in a bad way. They're just different. They are completely different. They don't care about fitting in, and some of them actively do not fucking want to fit in. And that is one of the things I think anybody can practice magic, but not everyone can be a witch. Because I also think if we look at older lore, we look at older stories, we look at the Nephilim, we look at the Watchers, the angels that came, and the old story of the angelic beings intermingling with humans and creating these essentially, people that had the blood of fallen angels coursing within them. And some people see them as the first witches. We see the idea and the aspect of Cain, the first murderer, the first farmer, essentially. But some people will see the mark of Cain on someone's head, and it will be a spiritual, not a physical mark, but a spiritual mark as a representation. That person is a child of Cain. That person is a witch. They're different. That person is a child of Cain. They belong to Cain. They belong to the blacksmith. They belong to the first farmer. That person belongs to the spirit world, to the other. And that, for me, we only need to look at older bodies of lore. There are also traditions and witchcraft traditions that will actively see witches as being part fae, of holding and having fairy blood. If we look at folklore and we look at stories, we only need to just scratch the surface, not even scratch the surface, just read to see that the witch and the fae folk intermingle with each other, intertwine like serpents. And this concept and this aspect of the Sidhe, the hidden ones, the fae, intermingling and interwoven and becoming woven into the fabrication of the witch. It's a marriage, it's a sacred marriage. And some people see the witch of having fairy blood. And, you know, I've even seen people go so far as to say that actually that is why witches are a little bit wild and a bit crazy and a bit quirky, because they're part fae, they've got fairy blood within them. So I 120% believe in witch blood, and I don't necessarily believe witch blood is a physical thing pumping through me. To me, witch blood is a spiritual thing. It is a red thread of lineage that connects me to every other practitioner, living, alive, dead, long gone, and not just that, to the current of witchcraft itself. And this isn't a red thread that we've got through oral law, through tradition, or anything like that. No. This is a red thread of spiritual connection, of heritage, and it's an initiation into the spirit world. So for me, and to me, within my mind, that's the way I see it. I feel that witches are very different from other magical practitioners and other magical people. A witch is on the fringes of society, the disenfranchised, the outcasts. The witch is very different, is the other, the walker between two worlds, one foot in this world, another foot in the other world. And yeah, that's what I believe. I believe that essentially that for me, I don't believe a witch can be made. And I think if someone wanted to become a witch, it would be hard for them if, you know, they knew they weren't, if they knew within their soul they wasn't a witch, and they didn't have that connection to the craft, they didn't have that connection to the nameless art, they didn't have those signs, those omens, those synchronicities from the other world, then I think it would be difficult and I think it would be hard. But I still think everyone can practice magic. And I don't think that just because you're not a witch, it's like you're crap, you don't matter, or it's not that. I just think that a witch is a very specific person. And I think that it's something that permeates through the fibre of every witch's being, much similar to the sense when we say a dancer, a musician, an artist has that talent, they have that link, they have that connection to that current, like electricity. They have that. But I don't think everybody has that when it comes to witchcraft. The same as I don't think everyone would make a good plumber. I don't think everyone would make a good support worker. I don't think everyone would make a good nurse. You know, I think it's just one of those things that is. I don't think it makes you any more than or less than. I think it just is a thing that is. I think another part of it as well is that, again, when we go back to these currents of magical traditions, we see that witchcraft is outside, it's different from other magical, it's completely different from other magical traditions. Other magical traditions go that way, witchcraft goes that way. It goes any damn way it pleases and it wants. And I think that is part of the thing as well. I actually saw a really interesting video from Foolish Fish. I really enjoy his videos. And he was speaking, it's a very long, it's a video that's an older video, I believe. And he was basically saying that for a while he's been a bit stuck because he's been able to look at different magical traditions and trace their foundations and trace their origins or their influences. You know, and to be able to look at them and be like, that's from Kabbalistic stuff. That comes from such and such. This is kind of around this way. But witchcraft was one of the things that he was really struggling with, as of where to put it, as of where to actually delineate it and see if there were some foundations. And then one of the things that clicked to him was shamanism. And he found that witchcraft, obviously, isn't shamanism itself, but has some foundations within shamanism. Now, again, I have to make this clear, I would never call shamanism witchcraft, because I think that that's a very ignorant and bigoted view, and I think there has been some really problematic things occur throughout the years because of that fucking mindset. So I'm not saying that at all, and that's not what Foolish Fish was saying as well. But in terms of the origins of something, in terms of its foundations, I would definitely say that witchcraft has shamanic elements to it. We look at the concept and the ideology of sending forth the fetch, sending forth the spirit within us, sending it out to do bidding, sending it out to traverse the worlds, to go to the other world, to cross the hedge, to take a hair leap or a toad leap into the unseen. 1 foot in this world, the body, 1 foot in the other, the fetch, the spirit. That is highly shamanic in nature. We look at the aspect of enveloping our bodies with unguents, with flying ointments, ways in which to cross the other realm. That is the use of entheogens in order to travel to these other places, seen in some shamanic influences and practices. Having a familiar spirit, having a spirit, an animal that will assist us, that will aid us, that will guide us, that will carry out tasks for us. Again, there are highly shamanic origins within witchcraft, and I believe it as a practice is completely different from other magical lines and forms. Again, I'm not saying I'm not saying witchcraft is shamanism. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's become something of its own, but I definitely feel that its foundations lie within shamanism. I definitely feel that. But I don't think it is. I think it's become something in and of itself, a current, a power, a line, a lineage that is something that, like itself, is individualistic, is crooked, is primal, is wild, and is free. And so that is my video about, can a witch be made, or is a witch born? And I believe that a witch is not made, and I believe that a witch is born. Bit controversial, but yeah, there we go. Hope you guys have a lovely day. I'm going to go and live my best life. It's like 27 degrees up here in sunny Scotland. So yeah, over and out. Peace.